Take three. Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Marissa Yeh. I'm currently a sophomore studying at USC. I'm focusing on environmental science and urban planning, and I work with CALIS to teach international relations to students. So just a little bit about me. I've always grown up with nature. I've loved nature. These are just a few pictures of me out and about, taking a picture of a slug, going tide pooling, things like that. And then the top one is actually me in a wetsuit when I was at the USC Wrigley Center for Marine and Environmental Sciences, which was a great experience for me. And so just a little bit of background for the education. My major in environmental science falls under Dornsife College Letters, Arts, and Sciences. And it is by far the largest academic unit at USC with a ton of different majors, which I'll show you. And then for my minor, urban planning, it falls under USC Price, which is the School of Public Policy, and it's ranked among the nation's top 5 schools for public affairs, which is really cool. Okay, just to look at all the Dornsife majors, it covers a huge range of topics. Under global systems, it's international relations, which CALIS has served as an outreach project for the School of International Relations, which is why I'm working at CALIS. And then my major is environmental science and health, which falls under life sciences. So talking a little bit more about environmental studies, environmental science, I wanted to highlight the 5 most important factors in my degree. Number one is natural resources, just because the main objective of environmental studies, environmental science, is to manage the natural resources we have and preserve as much nature as we can. Second is infrastructure, which mainly references the systems and our current management of things like waste, energy production, along those lines. Third is equity. We want to ensure that everyone, no matter their income, their ethnicity, where they are in the world, gets access to clean water, clean, like healthy food, and basically get access to what the world has to offer and nature has to offer. And then number 4, I have public services because we want to have outreach programs. We want to have all sorts of public engagement to serve the people, and make sure that they get all their needs without damaging the environment. And then fifth, I don't know if it should be fifth on this list, but one of the hardest things to achieve is shared values, which include more tolerance for conservation and a change in the attitude to have a stewardship mindset to take care of the environment. And then moving on to public policy and development, I'm doing a minor for the Bachelor of Science in Urban Studies and Planning. So the 5 most important four-world factors across the minor of urban planning. Number 1, public planning, policy development is obviously public services. So we focus a lot on actual infrastructure, um, and what we can offer to people, like housing, transportation needs, things like that, and ensuring that they're getting their needs taken care of while in an urban setting. Second is infrastructure, like I was saying, transportation's a big thing. Also, the buildings themselves are a huge part of urban planning, what gets built where and how we decide that, and changing policies around that. With the policies comes leadership, which is why that's number 3, which is really important in not only passing these policies, but later enforcing them to make sure that they're being followed properly. Fourth is entrepreneurship, just because we're chasing a lot of innovation in urban planning and trying to come up with more creative solutions in how to house the growing population that we have in the world without using up natural resources. And then fifth is equity, trying to make sure we don't extract resources from developing countries. We make sure that even people who are lower income or of different ethnicities get housed and are taken into account when creating communities. Okay, now let's talk a little bit about details and careers. In the political world, this is a big one. It involves laws and regulations, making sure that policies surrounding either energy, as in renewable energy, or natural resources are enacted and then are enforced. So some major players are USDA, which is the US Department of Agriculture, which has a subsection in natural resources conservation, which is basically just um maintaining our natural resources and trying not to exploit them or use them up. And then there's also the Department of Energy, which monitors how much energy everyone's using, trying to shift to renewable energy and just how to change the energy grid to be more efficient within cities and things like that. Then there's also Food and Agriculture Organization of the UN, along with other UN meetings to address climate change and issues of population, things like that. And lastly is the United States Environmental Protection Agency, which not only works to conserve the environment and protect humans from environmental health hazards, but also approves buildings and facilities as being environmentally friendly. Yeah. So moving on to the economic world, there's a lot of different examples. The first one I have is actually entrepreneurship. This is a firm called Unreasonable Institute, which is basically a bunch of investors putting money into small companies, specifically sustainable ones, or that are promoting efforts to combat climate change, global warming, things like that. And I've gotten a chance to work with some of the startups that are there. They're amazing. There's things like making meat out of mushrooms, which are just super cool and really help kind of shift our mindset to a more climate conscious one. And then innovation, there's a lot of that within entrepreneurship and finding the best way on how to restructure our society, just like creating a circular economy so things can be used more than once and we decrease waste generation. Lastly, there's a piece of infrastructure like renewable energy, which is a huge industry if you're looking for a career in that, for either solar panels, wind turbines, hydroelectric power, all the things like that. And as we move towards shifting away from fossil fuels. And then in the social world, there's a lot of advocacy. There's non-governmental organizations called NGOs. One of the most famous ones is Greenpeace. They advocate for a ton of different things like stopping mining, the banning of single-use plastics, clean water rights, pretty much everything you can think of under environmentalism, Greenpeace advocates for. Um, and then another piece of it, there's more local solutions. I actually volunteer with Water Drop Los Angeles, which works to provide clean water to our neighbors in Skid Row and ensure they have access to tents, socks, towels, everything that they request. We try our best to provide it. And that's just more of the equity and access. And that's further spurred my passion for not only environmentalism, but urban planning and making sure that they had proper access to refillable water stations, that they have the proper path to be able to get permanently housed, and just what the housing shortage within Los Angeles itself has done to people and how it can be fixed to help them. Yeah. And then lastly is the cultural world. One of the biggest things that got me into the environment and into urban planning was this kind of mixing of the two to create kind of environmentally conscious architecture. Like the one pictured right here is from the California Academy of Sciences, a great museum up in San Francisco, where I'm from. They have a living roof, which is basically a bunch of plants. There's some solar panels on the roof. There's lots of little tubes for sunlight to be filtered into the museum and act as natural light so that they don't need to use energy on electricity. And it's not only is it helpful for the building to keep running, but it also provides entertainment as people can go up onto the roof and see the flowers and the birds and whatever else is there. Um, yeah, and then another thing I focus on within environmental science, I do have a focus on sustainability and society. So with that, I try and promote diversity, and in that, I like traditional ecological knowledge, where it draws on indigenous people's knowledge and trying to incorporate that into our current world. This is either through like organizations, there are activists like from the social world who come into this and just kind of promote this culture where we try and diversify our environmentalism. And then lastly, I wanted to touch on identity and local solutions. So one of the career paths from here is like a community planner. The picture I included is the Peace Garden, which is actually a USC garden, like a block away from campus. They transformed this abandoned lot into a community garden, which has fruits, vegetables, a bunch of herbs that community members are allowed to care for and take. And it creates kind of a sense of community identity and focuses on local solutions in order to kind of make this change happen. So within those, you can also become a conservationalist. There's a lots of positions open for national parks, preserves, anything like that. If you love being outdoors, that's a great solution too. And then you can serve as an educator as well, educating people about the risks of climate change, what species we have in our area, native plant life, anything like that. So there's a bunch of different paths. What I want to show you guys is just all these factors and details all come together. There's public policy, like in urban planning, but that can also be used to make regulation around environmental issues. And the most important thing to take away from this is that throughout both of my areas of study, there's a focus on stewardship, on caring for our natural environment, not only preserving it, but also maintaining it within these built cities and having access to green space, having access to gardens, things like that. And just making sure we're giving back to the earth in a responsible way. And even if we do have to make new buildings, we're being respectful about it and doing our best to not take more than we need. Okay, I hope that was helpful to you all. I'm open if you have any more questions. You can reach me through CALIS. And thank you so much for listening to my presentation. Bye.